Good morning guys, how you doing? It's Ryan here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to start investing for retirement for beginners. If you're new here, this channel is all about documenting my experience to financial freedom, the investments I make, why I make them, and yeah. If you like content like that, please make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and leave a comment down below if you have any questions. Sorry, I'm trying to find the best way to battle the sun this morning. I do a lot of videos kind of just walking around beautiful South Florida. I'm currently living with my parents because I'm building a new house, but in that new house I'll be putting in a little YouTube making studio area in my loft. I'll be able to create content in a way with a little less obstacles of wind and sun and shadows and things like that. But I'll still do these. I enjoy these. I enjoy waking up, making some coffee, and talking finance. Little disclaimer, this is not financial advice. This is just something I do for fun. And actually, a big reason why I do this is not only to create a successful channel that could possibly make money one day, but really because I better understand the concepts I'm talking about when I'm teaching them back. I actually went to school to become a teacher, and they teach you tools on how to teach. So one of those tools was retention rates when students just listen to content. It's very low, it's like 10 to 15%. Teacher at the front of the room talking to students. Most of it is very hard to keep in between the ears and remember that content. But if you have the students learn the content and then teach it back through like a presentation or a project, nearly 80+% of that content is stored. So that's why I do this, because I really want to better understand the concepts I'm talking about. Also, some exciting news in my life. I just found out I'm going to be a father for the second time. My wife just announced on her YouTube channel. I'll link that down below. She's got an awesome channel, almost 8,000 subscribers. So if any of you guys want to show her some love, make sure to visit her channel. And yeah, with that said, let's jump into it. So this video is really inspired by a conversation I was having with a friend. I'm working very hard on being frugal, on really just, and what I mean by that is just not being wasteful with money. I play in a little band, and we were on a little band retreat, and one of my really good friends is in our band, and it was silly. We actually went on a band retreat to Fort Myers on the other coast. I live in Palm Beach, and we're leaving to come back, and he left his sunglasses, and we weren't far from the house. And he's like, well, they're just $7 sunglasses. And I started going on this tangent. Do you know that $7 compounding over 30 years is gonna be blah, 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 blah? There's the idea of leaving sunglasses here in South Florida, a very important part of your wardrobe in South Florida with this sun every day that's shining and never cloudy. And he said they're just $7 gas station sunglasses. Those are great. Those are the only kind I buy. And I hate when I have to buy them. I spend extra money to protect my eyes from the sun and don't get those crow eyes in the future. You need to save that money, invest that money. And his response to me was that I was kind of ridiculous and didn't want to have this conversation in a friend jokingly way. But he actually ended up calling me the next day. I'm sorry if this is long-winded before I get into the how to get started investing for retirement for beginners, but it really is foundational to get the mind thinking. So he called me up the next day and said, hey Ryan, I'm sorry if I was a little rude about that. I know you're very passionate about finance, but I think I just don't know as much about it, and therefore it doesn't really interest me, but I actually just want to know where to get started with investing. You have all these concepts and things you talk about, where to start. And I broke out into this kind of conversation. Well, investing for retirement for beginners, sorry, cars coming, people probably think I'm crazy walking around talking to a camera. My fellow YouTubers, you probably know what I'm talking about. So I broke out into this. I asked him, well, how to start investing. I started off by asking him two questions. I asked him, what are your debts? What are the interest rates? He had a student loan debt. Wasn't sure of the interest rate, but typically the interest rates for student loans are low. A lot of them are government loans and, you know, probably under 5%. So I figured, well, do you have an employer 401k program with a match? He said, yes I do. I told him that's the first place to start. When looking for retirement, you want to make sure two things. You want to make sure before you're really ready to invest for retirement, you don't have any high interest debt weighing you down. And an employer 401k program with a match is immediate returns. So for example, my company will match me, they will match me 4% of my 5%. They will match up to 80%. So if I put in $100, they will match me $80. It's an 80% return on my money immediately. I then get to put in the market and get more return in the future. Guys, that's real passive income. That's immediate passive income. I'm just putting money over there and I'm getting 80%. That's the whole thing that we're doing. It's a beautiful thing. So if you work for a company and they offer that, and they offer a 401k employee program with a match of any kind. Some companies offer better matches than what I get, and some offer worse, but it's free passive money. You gotta understand, when you go to work and you spend an hour there and you're getting an hourly wage or salary or commission, you're expensing time and energy and precious. Time is precious. We only get to live for so long. And to give that up for your money, it kind of sucks if you think about it. So you really have to cherish the money you can make in passive ways. It's really cool about these morning walks. All these birds, they're all awake and just being birds and chirping. It's kind of cool background noise to these videos. All right. So I'm gonna start investing in an employer 401k program with a match if you have it. I talk to other people that work for my same company that don't do it. Well, a lot of their first responses is, well, you put it in this account and it could go down. It could go down. Well, guys, well, first of all, cash is always gonna go down. Inflation's gonna erode your wealth at 2 to 3% a year, at least. Depends on what kind of measurements you use. That's trusting the CPI, the Consumer Price Index from the federal government. If you study other Austrian economists, they're gonna tell you it's much higher because the CPI is conjunctured in a way to make inflation seem moderate. But regardless, let's not get too deep into that. Let's just talk about the idea, I'm scared to invest because the market could go down. Well, first, we know cash is gonna go down no matter what, at least 2 to 3%. There's a financial disclaimer you're gonna hear a lot. It's past performance is not indicative of future performance, or past performance does not guarantee future performance. That's so true, but so dumb. It's dumb because past performance is all we really have to go off of. It can't guarantee, it's just a disclaimer. I can't promise these things in the future, but it's the best tool we have to look at what's gonna happen in the future. It's just a stupid financial disclaimer so someone somewhere doesn't get sued. And yeah, you're right, the future could be very, very different and we may not see returns. But let's just talk about the top 500 companies in America. You could own a piece of these companies. You could own these powerful companies that employ all these smart people and have all these productive resources, and you're scared to do it because you think it might go down? You think your cash is gonna do any better? Plus your employer's already giving you an incentive to put the money in the market by giving you 80% immediate return, or me. But what are you getting? Note this, essentially all of these employer subsidized retirement plans requires you to spend time with them to give you that match. So they're gonna say, if you stay here 1 year, you're gonna get 20% of the 80% we promised. You're not gonna see that full 80% unless you give us 5+ years of your tenure. So keep that in mind, the longer you stay with your company, that you're gonna actually get all of that match money. Because if you leave early or do something like that, that money could disappear. All right, so to recap, do you have high interest debt? Even if you have high interest debt, do the employer 401k program with a match, because it's gonna be higher return. Like I talked about in the last video, our credit card interest is horrible, it's like 20%, but if you can get better than 20% investing in your 401k, then still pay your credit cards, but make sure you're doing whatever it takes to qualify to get that high match from your employer. And guys, if you're not getting an employer match from your employer, I'm sorry. It's a great thing. A lot of companies offer it. I'm not sure what kind of position you're in at your work, but there's a lot of companies out there that do offer this. Pensions are essentially gone today. This is the next best thing that we have. But now let's jump into this. And you'll see in the title, I also say 401k or Roth 401k. And to me, it's a very fascinating conversation to have. So what is just a 401k? They call it a traditional 401k. A traditional 401k, all it means is that I'm gonna defer my taxes on this money going in my retirement fund for a later date. Don't quote me on this, but I believe you can start taking out money as early as 59.5, and I think you must take the money out by the time you're 69.5 without getting penalized. So for example, I'm 30 years old. I would essentially start paying tax on this money in 30 years if I defer it. Or I could do a Roth 401k and I could pay those taxes today. Now, which one should I do? Well, one of the big things you have to consider is marginal tax rate. There's two real scenarios here. There's the marginal tax rate today in your income bracket, and what will the marginal tax rate be in the future? None of us have a crystal ball, and we don't really know what the future is going to look like, so it's really tough to hedge our bets on that. If you want to have any kind of insight, you have to say, well, we live in a country with our government over $20 trillion in debt. Taxes are probably not going to go down a whole lot in the future, and they are relatively cheap by historical standards today, so maybe that's a reason to pay the tax today. And the other thing you really have to consider is, am I going to make more or less money in retirement? Now that's something you do have control over. So a lot of people when they retire, they end up living on fixed income, and for a lot of people it's lower than what they make in their careers, but also their expenses are lower. They may have paid off their house, they don't have children, they don't have all these other expenses that made them have to make high income during their careers. They don't have to do that anymore. So they can live off of less money and have less expenses. Then there are people that do really well investing and create businesses, and they make a lot more money when they're older than when they're younger because they're investments. So you really have to say, am I going to make more or less money in retirement? I'd like to think I'm going to make more money in retirement, but my tactic is going to be, I really want to hedge my bets. I want to do essentially half of my money going into a traditional 401k and half of the money going into a non-traditional 401k. Right now I'm putting all my money into a traditional retirement account because I want to invest that money today, and a lot of that's going into real estate, my new property I'm building, so I'm saving X amount of dollars every paycheck. That's another thing you have to consider is if I pay the taxes today, I'm gonna have less money today. So you'll have less money to invest today. My goal is to be financially free sooner than later. I don't want to have to wait till retirement to be able to do what I want to do. So that makes me think sometimes I should do more traditional for now until I can get more investments and then switch back to Roth. But it's really tough. I was telling my wife, I spend hours thinking about this. Traditional or non-traditional 401k. The smartest thing for me, I think, is really to hedge. At the moment, I'm going heavier on traditional just because I want more money today to invest, and hopefully that money will create a greater return than what my future tax rate will be. Hopefully. So if you guys are just starting out, hopefully these tips are helpful as to how to get started investing. Don't be scared of the big, scary stock market. As I said, past performance does not guarantee future returns, but what we see is that the S&P 500 with dividends reinvested can return anywhere from 7 to 11%. If you're older watching this video, you may want to take a more conservative outlook on it. If you're closer to those mandatory withdrawal times, you may want to consider a more diversified portfolio than if you're younger. If you're younger, I would say play equities, play them aggressive, probably get a little international exposure as well. I'm actually going to make another video if you're older, getting ready for retirement, in a conservative way to still get a modestly good return. Because what you really don't want to do if you're older is be in your retirement age and watching your account drop by 30% and having to withdraw money out of there and make it harder to recover. But that's for a future video. Guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, I appreciate every comment down below, every like, it means the world. Building a channel is fun and exciting. I'm almost to 100 subscribers. If you're watching and you have not already, please make sure to destroy, as Graham Stephan would say, the subscribe button. It would really mean a lot. I've been at this for just about over a month. I want to catch up to my wife. She's almost at 8,000 subscribers. So if you can help me with that, and give me more bragging rights around the house, I'd really appreciate it. Also, please follow me on Instagram. I post there pretty much daily. I'll put my handle right here, right above my coffee cup. See that? Go follow me over there. I make videos every single week documenting this road to financial freedom And I'll see you in my next one. Thank you. Oh, and if you guys are still here, check out this bunny running around. Check him out. What's up, bunny? Where are you going?